amazing. So, Sharon, thank you so much for joining me. Anyone that actually follows or like I speak to on LinkedIn knows I'm a huge fan of yours anyway. So when I came up with the idea for the Thursday video, it was about women in recruitment, you saying no wasn't an option. You just didn't know it. It was like, I'm having Sharon. I think what you're doing is such an amazing message. I think it's just so good to share. So Kameo, you started, but interestingly, you were telling me this morning that you didn't start to just be a recruitment agency. It was always created to share a message, wasn't it?
Yes, so I worked in recruitment myself, coming up 9 years now. 5 years ago, I came extremely close to becoming a statistic of domestic abuse, at which point, obviously, life changes. You look at things in a slightly different way. And I realised that I had a network that I could reach, which was the business world, shall we say. So I set up Kameo Recruitment coming up 3 years ago now to use the platform to raise awareness of domestic abuse within the local community. That is obviously speaking to people on the ground level, shall we say, but also it has gone far and wide now nationally, where we're speaking to businesses and educating them. We don't train, we educate them on what domestic abuse is, how to spot signs within your workforce, and really take a stand and make workplaces a safe space for people to come forward and get the help they need. I do this in collaboration with a number of people. I don't do it just by myself, but I've become, since COVID, if I'm honest, an ambassador for the Domestic Abuse Alliance, and also an ambassador for the Employers Initiative on Domestic Abuse. So COVID, on one side of things, as we know, recruitment did take a hit initially, but the positive side of that has been that I've been able to reach out and really build relationships with people that I might not have had the time to do previously. So it's been a good journey over the last year, but the people we're reaching now, we are actually saving lives, which is incredible.
I was going to say, because I know there's been charities and other things. So when we actually post the video, I'm actually going to include links for them and stuff. So if people want to click in and see. But for you, I think what really I absolutely love is that it's gone more than just talking about it. What you've actually done is created a momentum. You've actually got, would you class it as legislation? I don't know, but you're actually taking it a next step, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah, so again, the one thing I realised from educating the businesses that I was speaking to was that they were starting to listen. So I do my education. I would, before COVID, do webinars where people would attend. Since COVID, we've been seminars, we're doing webinars now. And actually we've had a lot of businesses that have really embraced and listened to what I'm saying. But then they were saying, well, what do we do now? And as we know, a lot of businesses have been hit, or even before COVID, people don't have a bottomless pit of money to put into policies and things. So they were getting stuck at this point, which is where we've now created Sharon's policy. So it is a template policy that is free to use. It's free to get access from, either from myself or the Employers Initiative on Domestic Abuse. And what it is a legally checked document that is backed and has been reviewed by Hogan Lovells. So they are a global law firm. They've looked over the policy for us. And that's the legal part of the policy, shall we say, that people can look at. I've then written the guidance notes alongside the Employers Initiative on Domestic Abuse and the DA Alliance, which can be taken by any business. And then they look through and they work out what they can do. Because again, a business has got 2,000 employees. They might have the finances to offer money in a situation to help people get out of it. Even for myself, we are a small business. It wouldn't be that I could offer months and months and months of salary to someone if they couldn't work. We would look at doing other things and helping in different ways. And it's about putting in the steps that a business can do to help people get out of a situation, or just feel safe if they are in the workplace as well. So that was where we realised there was this area that was missing, and Sharon's policies hopefully filling that gap. We've had some really positive conversations. I've been presenting to local businesses, and we've got our webinar that we're running as well. So it's definitely making steps in the right direction and getting people talking about domestic abuse.
And do you think, it's crazy to think we're even having this conversation.
Absolutely.
I've kind of named this women in recruitment. Arguably it could be anybody, but it does strike me as as amazing as it is to have Sharon's policy, it also strikes me as being a little bit crazy that we're still talking about these things in 2021 at the same time. But I have noticed through COVID, or now as we're coming out of it, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
I mean, that people seem to be more, I don't know, people just seem to be more open to talking about mental health and these policies. Absolutely. And maybe things that we didn't want to discuss before.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think if you look at mental health 10 years ago, nobody would talk about it really. They were too scared to say, I suffer from anxiety, I suffer from depression. Whereas now, people are embracing that, talking about it, looking at how they can support each other. And domestic abuse is almost at the point that was 10 years ago. COVID has brought it to everyone's attention. Unfortunately, it is a pandemic within the pandemic, because people have been locked in with their partners. And yes, I'm female and I'm campaigning, but it happens to men. It doesn't discriminate. It happens to people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different financial situations. It happens to everybody. And statistically, if you look, 1 in 4 women, 1 in 3 men in their lifetime, that was 1 in 4 women, 1 in 6 men will be exposed to it in their lifetime, whether that be people automatically think about the physical side, but actually there's so many different areas that happen. And the coercive control with just gaining control of people's lives, there's financial abuse. So in the workplace, that can be quite common as well. People might have their salaries paid into their partner's bank account. Again, if it then comes to the forefront that this person's been abused, a business can stop that. They can stop the money from going in and start paying it to the employee, shall we say. But I think it is definitely getting people talking. Employee wellbeing, as I'm sure you're aware, working in recruitment for a long time, is now the thing that I think candidates look for as well. When I'm recruiting, they'll say, well, what do they do? What do they offer as their package? And it's not just, well, this is the salary, this is the holiday. Okay, what else do they do? Do they have mental health policies? Do they have domestic abuse policies? Do they have health and wellbeing policies that relate to the healthcare side of things? And actually, it's people, I think, are too narrow-minded if they stop and just go, well, it's not really our problem. It is, because even financially as a business, it has a huge impact. It cost the economy 66 billion in 2017 because of domestic abuse, whether that be absenteeism, people leaving their jobs. So again, it's one of those things that actually it is everyone's business, and we can really make changes if we start talking like we are today.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say around like people want to start exploring more than just a basic salary. I've really noticed, not just in Rec2Rec, but even before I came into Rec2Rec, that people were suddenly really interested in things like culture. People suddenly wanted to know, what are the people really like? The number of people that would attend a social drink, for example. I'm talking basic stuff here. I mean, feel free to explore. But even just arranging a drink before people started, so they would, not now obviously, but before people would suddenly grab a glass of wine or a beer with people they're going to start with, connecting with people early on LinkedIn, all these things, because suddenly people are like, actually, I really want to know, if I'm going to make this move, what are these people like? So I think culture benefits are becoming a bigger thing. Interestingly, you've got your policy that's going to go on your website. It's available on the other bits and pieces as well. How can people actually use that? Because I think it's lovely, like from your point of view, you've got a very natural starting point, being somebody that came from that, and so your vision is really clear. Just say, like me, for example, or a normal agency, they're watching this video and going, you know what, Sharon's doing something great, we want to include some of this. What can we start doing, do you think?
Absolutely. It's it is a bit of a minefield for people that don't know about domestic abuse, or it can be quite scary.
What I think it is as well? Like, that's why I spoke to you. Obviously, we speak a lot anyway. Like before, I was like, can I ask this or can we say that? Because actually, you don't know what is okay to ask.
I think 100%. It's knowing your audience as such. So I speak openly about my experience, and I'm more than happy to support any person that's watching this today and help them to implement the policy and point them in the direction of official training and things like that. But it is something that can be quite scary to talk about. You don't want to pry into someone's business, and there are a lot of victims or survivors that don't like talking about their experience. But as a business, if someone's watching today, the starting point is looking at the policy. So yeah. The policy it's made to be straightforward and easy to understand. And I think people will be surprised at how much difference they can actually make just from doing a few of the simple steps on from the guidance note, shall we say. I offer education as well. So I regularly speak to businesses. I spoke globally. I was speaking to Hong Kong last week as well about my experience. And it's made to be simple. It's made to be easy to understand. And I think the starting point is really understanding what domestic abuse is. So the different aspects of domestic abuse. Once you understand that, you can then look at how you recognise that someone is potentially being abused. And then signposting. So people that are watching, it's not your job to save somebody. And I think that's where people get that, oh, I don't want to look into this because I don't want to be responsible for helping someone save their life. You're not responsible, you signpost. And it's being able to have access and know where to signpost those people to. So I signpost. If someone discloses to me, I can't help them in the way that they need, but I can signpost them to Women's Aid, Men's Aid, the DA Alliance. I can signpost them to the police if needed, obviously depending on the situation. But I am not trained as a domestic abuse person that can save people in that sense. But what I can do is get them to a safe space or offer them the access to have a look and gain the control back in their life to make the decisions that work for them. And I think that's what people need to take away from this. You can do tiny little steps, even if it's that, you know, I'm sitting in one of my meeting rooms here today, as you know, and I've got my team in the other office. Now, if they needed support, I could bring in external support into this office here, and I could bring them into here, and they could get the help they need without their perpetrator being there, because work is often the only safe space they've got. So I think it's being aware that actually, as a business, you really can make a difference to somebody's life, but it does take that one person within a business to start talking about it, and that does take courage. It does. To be the person that goes to the manager or the director and says, look, I want us to start looking at domestic abuse. It does take courage, but that courage could potentially save somebody.
And I think, interestingly, that moves on to a slightly different topic, but one I think is interesting nonetheless. And that's suddenly that, you know, if we look historically over the ratio of men and women in recruitment in the past, for example, I can't remember who I was talking about it with last week, but we were saying about how some of the benefits in recruitment, so we maybe might see a trip to Ibiza or whatever it might be, you know, for you know, that's great for a certain demographic. Interestingly, I think as the world evolves and as the workplace that we work in evolves, as we're starting to see changes, you know, I wonder how much of things like these environments need to change with it as well, because, you know, actually the workplace is a very different environment to what it was 10 years ago. So,
absolutely.
You know, are we updating it, or are we just modernizing it to where we really should be anyway, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, you know, the workplace needs to change depending on the people you've got within that workplace, and it can be quite hard. I mean, obviously, as recruiters, naturally, we like to be challenged. If you're full on recruitment, you like those targets, you like the thought potentially of going to Ibiza. But does everyone want that? No, they don't. So it's taking a step back and
I'd go anywhere right now, to be fair. I mean,
I'm saying no, they don't. I'm thinking actually,
I'd be on that plane.
We should get our tickets for Ibiza, definitely.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And it's looking at the people you've got. And I think one of the things that I had when I was going through domestic abuse as well was, you know, we as recruiters, I'm a social person, I liked going out, but my then perpetrator stopped me, and I was so against the wall because I didn't want to say, well, I don't want to come out, because people are like, hang on a minute, why? But at the same time, if I went out, I knew the repercussions of it. So it's looking a little bit deeper into people's lives, and you're not prying. You it's a duty of care, I like to think, of people. And if you see people changing from what they used to be, it might be that they've met the love of their life, absolutely, and they don't want to go anywhere.
Don't want to go out.
Which, you know, I'm not saying that at all. But, you know, I'm happily, I've got a fiance now, and we spend a lot of time together. But I think in terms of someone's behaviour changing and things like that, but ultimately we do change over time. And if you've been at a company for 20 years, the 20-year ago you is probably very different to what you want now. So as a business, looking at the perks that you offer and the, you know, what you can offer, it needs to be inclusive of everybody, unless you've got one part of a team that says, well, actually, we want to go to Ibiza, and the other part say, actually, no, do you know, we want to go for a spa day, or we want to go and watch the motor racing, or whatever that they like. So I think it is about being really open and inclusive of everybody.
And I think that's why I thought you would be somebody great to share your story with, because when we've worked together before, and I know like recruiters have needed to make the decision, what agency do they choose? I always remember people's feedback, and it's always very much been that your agency is one that is doing good, like, but you're not choosing one or the other. You are a good, solid recruitment agency with good reviews. You've got good quality work. You've got clients that, you know, will follow you and partner with you on the other side. You're choosing to do good. And I think that's really, really interesting, because there's still a belief, I think, that we've got to choose. Are we a good recruitment agency, or are we trying to do something else? And actually, maybe because I know you, I get the luxury of knowing this, but I think you really are balancing those two worlds just beautifully. Like you're not sacrificing recruitment for a charity, and you're not saying you're a charity, you're a recruitment agency. And so many people, I think, can learn from that. We all, you know, have got a bit more scope to start doing that, you know. And that's,
I think that's the thing. You do make a decision as to where your time is split. Obviously, I could spend much more time on recruitment and doing new business and things like that. We all know that's the way to get business in, but actually by doing what we do, and my team, I have to take my hat off to my team, because they embrace what I do. So they know that when I'm spending a week doing 3 or 4 domestic abuse presentations, that I'm not bringing in the business for the recruitment side. So we work really well as a team, and I think that's important. If you are looking to branch into this, you need people that understand your vision and what you're trying to achieve, because, and admittedly, if you interviewed them, they would say at the start of the journey with me, they didn't know about domestic abuse and the impact it has. But now they're as educated as I am, and they realise the impact. So, and we're on that journey together now. So it's not just me, it's me and the team. But I do think you don't have to choose between one or the other. You can integrate both. Obviously, mine integrates quite well in the fact that I'm reaching out to businesses. So it works alongside the recruitment, and we are tending to speak to the same people. So we know in recruitment, you're speaking normally to HR or the managers, the directors, and actually they're the people that I need to speak to about the domestic abuse as well at the starting point. So you can definitely find things that work alongside your business that mirror your values. And we do have a good reputation within recruitment, and the businesses we work with also have the same values that we have. So it works. And I think that's one thing that I'm quite strong on in recruitment. I like working with businesses that do good. I like working with businesses that I know look after their employees. And we have long-term relationships. We have a lot of repeat business from that reason. So initially it might look like you're taking time up that could be better used elsewhere, but actually it isn't. It's the bigger picture. So it can take time, but the difference you make is incredible.
And I think as an industry as well, we're stepping away from transactional recruitment, this kind of slightly older model of, you know, throwing enough candidates at a job, or throwing enough jobs at candidates, whichever way it is for each sector, you know, is slowly going. I think actually our industry is more about repeat business. It's more about partnering, you know, not quite an RPO model, but, you know, it's more about actually being, you know, an extension of these clients. And some of it comes through traditional sales. You've got to meet new people. I get that. But I do think some of the best relationships, I know for us, you know, like we already kind of knew about each other before we started working, because, you know, we were both trying to share like a positive message and, you know, a love of Cambridge and things, you know, and it kind of brought us together, and we worked together. I think people being clients and candidates are looking for more than, you know, a room full of recruiters who, you know, are willing just to chuck everything. They're looking at saying, you know, this is my career, I take it very seriously. I want to partner that with an agency that's doing that as well. So in a way, I guess it's kind of a new type of sales in a way. It's you saying, this is Kameo unapologetically, this is what we do, who we are, and people like it or they don't, right?
Oh no, absolutely. That's exactly what I was going to say. You either buy into it or you don't. Not everyone loves Kameo. Not everyone loves me. You know, we're humans.
Lie, Sharon. Everyone loves it.
If everyone loved us, it would be a bit boring at times. You know, but I think in reality, we do what we do because we believe in what we're doing, and if people believe in that with us, then we build these great partnerships. But there will be businesses out there that would go, well, no, you're not for us, we don't want that. Absolutely, that's their choice. But it's about, you go on your own journey, don't you? And I think you find what makes you happy as well. And for me, it is about helping others, and it's a genuine, I appreciate life, I appreciate being here now, I'm very lucky to be here. So every day is a new day, and I look at that and think, what can I do, where can I take it? And that's where we're kind of building those relationships. And we are still new on our journey. Kameo's just coming up 3 years old. And, you know, if you look at how much of that has been through COVID, we're not where I potentially assumed that we would be now. But the world has thrown different challenges, and we've embraced those challenges and gone, what can we do? And now it's really embedded in what we're doing. And having Sharon's policy in place means that it's something that we will continue to do forever. I don't ever want to stop campaigning around domestic abuse, but I also don't ever want to stop recruiting, because I love recruiting and I love working with the clients that I work with, and those relationships are invaluable. And
you don't have to choose anymore. I think that's the luxury.
No. And that's the thing, you don't choose. And actually, yeah, the feeling I get when I go home at the end of the day, whether I place someone in a job and change their life, or whether I've done a presentation to a company that now goes, we're going to have your policy in place, I'm changing lives that way. And I think the sense of reward from that, until you do something good to give back, it's incredible. So if anyone's listening, I would say try it. Look at what's important to you, look at what fits with your business as well. That's the important thing.
And I love that message, because that's almost what these videos are about, because they are sort of like 20 minutes, half an hour. I don't think someone's going to sit down at work and watch these videos. I definitely think this is going to be more of a case that someone's making dinner and think, oh, you know what, I want to see what, and kind of have it on in the background. And the whole point of this is that they are, so what they're meant to do is for someone to watch this and go, you know what, we want that policy. Or even more, that's even nicer, is that they go, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, because we're all capable of doing more and still recruiting. I mean, we don't need to say numbers, but you recruit well. I think that's what makes this so exciting. You're recruiting good numbers and you're still doing good, you know, right? You're not choosing, and so many of us could watch this and say, yeah, she's doing it, I can do it. But what we're going to do is we're going to post, when the video goes up, we're going to include the list of the charities that have helped you make this happen. So if anybody wants to share those, like those, we're obviously going to tag your profile as well. So if anyone wants to, you know, have, especially those, I guess, that maybe want you to do some talking, or those that
absolutely. I think that's the thing. It's you know, I do bring my own personal story into it, which is where the education works, because I can really relate my experience. I was in the workplace when it happened to me, and that's what gets people listening and gets people thinking about it. So I'm more than happy to have those conversations with anyone that wants to have it. The Employers Initiative on Domestic Abuse as well, I know you're going to share their details. They have amazing toolkits, and it's free to become a member. So again, you can work, and my policies in their handbook, so you can start with them. But I know obviously sometimes recruiters don't like to talk to recruiters. I love talking to other recruiters, because I think you can learn so much from other people. So I'm more than happy to have a conversation with anybody around the domestic abuse things. And
I was going to say that other recruiters, you know, if they're, you know, sort of Cambridge, they're interested, whatever, to give you a follow, to, you know, I think these old-fashioned rules that, you know, you can't connect so and so.
I love talking to other recruiters. You learn so much.
Don't talk to too many, Sharon, though, because it'll put me out of a job.
No, I wouldn't do that. Never do that. You're the best. We need you. We need you out there, Jamie, definitely.
No, I think that's why this is so amazing. So we're going to put links to your policy and to the other charities. You know, it's an open book. We're saying connect with you. We're saying follow Kameo. You know, it could be people just want ideas to start sharing some positivity in their own agencies, to give you a follow, because you're successfully doing it. And, you know, so we want people to connect with you, follow you. Well, thank you so much. I mean, today really is just a very brief, as you know, each Thursday we're going to share a little story from someone different who, I don't know, the world gives you two options sometimes, and I think you've turned yours into something positive. I'm a huge fan of yours anyway, you know that. And and it was just not an option not having you. You didn't know that, but it wasn't an option.
Thank you.
Every Thursday is just sharing something exciting and someone to watch it and go, you know what, I could do that. And I think in a world where so many people tell each other they can't do something, every Thursday this message is about go for it, do it.
Absolutely. And I think what you're doing is incredible, and being given the opportunity to speak today, and likewise I think you're fantastic and you're great at what you do, and just starting these conversations, it can be quite hard to reach people in the right way. So being able to speak openly with you and talk about a little bit about what I'm doing is incredible. And I'm sure I'm really excited to watch all the other people that are going to be talking as well and hear about their positive experiences and what they're doing.
And I think that's key. I think I think when you watch something and it's got a negative feeling, sometimes it's very difficult to take that and then motivate that to do change. I think when you listen to someone and you say, wow, that inspires me, that's positive, you can sort of, even if it's just a case they take your policy for now and they do something with that, or that they check in with their 3 recruiters that they've got, or 103 recruiters that they've got. It's just about something, isn't it?
Something. It's just starting it, isn't it? And that can be a tiny thing or it can be a huge thing. But if we all do something positive today, then we've all taken a positive step, which is fantastic.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. It's amazing. And we'll speak very soon anyway. But I just really wanted to say thank you for sharing your story, and anyone watching this to connect with you, follow, and you've made it perfectly clear they can reach out and ask away.
Absolutely.
So fingers crossed people do that, right?
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Lovely talking to you.
Yes, and you. Bye, Sharon. Bye.